What's up, guys? I am Chris from The B is for The Build. 9 years ago, I rebuilt this Lotus Evora. It was very badly crashed, rolled over. There's a bee on the cameraman. Kyle, I'm gonna save you. Are we good? Oh no, he's still right there. It was the cookies we had. We should have skipped the cookies. They could smell this.
Don't smell that sweet.
Laziest bees ever. There's 1,000 flowers over there. Oh, now that field is on fire. Where was I? We rebuilt the car and I used it and I enjoyed it very much. I took the best care of it, probably the best care I've ever taken of any car. I definitely didn't leave it outside for like a year or two. And then, while I was using it so much, like I do all my cars, just all the miles, it started to develop an electrical gremlin and it stopped being able to be used. Ta-da! My Evora is broken. And today, we're gonna try and fix it the B is for Build way, which is like $2,000 cheaper than the right way, but might not work. So here's the deal. I bought this car for its reliability. It has a Toyota, it's a supercar by the way, but it has a Toyota engine and transmission. And when it was operating right, man, this thing ripped. It was super fast. One of my favorite memories I have of this is I was driving through the redwoods in California. I was driving from San Francisco home, and I think I ended up home like 45 minutes early. It was that much fun. And I thought, you know, what could go wrong? Toyota engine, Toyota transmission. I kind of forgot about, you know, Lotus's little touch that they had to add to this vehicle, which was, at least I think, the wiring harness. A highly replaced item on this car. Like the one that came on it, they don't even sell anymore because it's that bad. So it did its thing and it started throwing codes, and one code turned into another code, and then a transmission code, and then a limp mode, and eventually, maybe because it sat for quite a while, a no more running situation, and we got to pushing. But we did give it a little wash down, and it still looks quite pretty. It's a very good looking car. It's just not a very, you get the idea. Don't run anymore. So let's talk about what I think the problem is and how we're gonna fix it. When we look in the back here and ignore all the dirt and grime and stuff that I need to vacuum out still, when we look in the back here in the engine compartment, well, it's just an engine compartment, but it is very hard to access things in here because it's covered by the clamshell, the rear clamshell. If you take this rear clamshell apart, you're taking pretty much the whole car apart. Like, it's a big job, big job. And the way the dealership would fix this, my guess, would be to replace this wiring harness. That means like this big bundle here running through the whole engine wiring harness, going back to the ECU, which is right, I think over there. That would all get replaced. Based on the research I did online, I don't think they protected this engine bay enough when they created it, and I think their wiring harness wasn't up to snuff. I think it was bad quality wiring harness, and that's what started throwing the eventual gremlin after gremlin after gremlin. Electrical gremlins left and right, eventually then throwing the car into limp mode, and then eventually not starting. Now the not starting could be, we've been working on some battery stuff, and it could be some bad gas stuff, because this car has sat for about 2.5 years at this point. So we're gonna keep working on those things as we work on this. But to have long-term reliability, I think it's this engine harness. Actually, I haven't verified it yet, but I think it's the engine harness going onto the engine, different sensors and the plugs there, and even the ECU and the ECU area. I think that one, I'm gonna admit, if that one's in bad shape, that's probably my fault that I didn't properly protect it while rebuilding the car. You gotta give me a break. I was 1 year into building cars at that point. Could be my fault, not really sure. We will assess as we get there. So, the new harness from the factory costs $1 bazillion. And since I don't have access to the national debt, I'm gonna try and fix this the B is for Build way. Which, if you don't know, is trying the cheap solution first. That's always gonna be the B is for Build way, which is with the brand that sponsored today's episode, WD-40, and some of their fun stuff like the WD-40 contact cleaner. We've got 3 different products that we're gonna be using to do a full clean and protect on this wiring harness and the ECU and the plugs and the fuses around there. Try and clean them up good and protect them to see if we can get a second lease on life out of this current wiring harness before we have to rip the entire car in half and spend thousands of dollars. The WD-40 Specialist Contact Cleaner is designed exactly for problems like this. It removes dirt and oil and oxidation from the electrical plugs and the sensors, and then it dries quickly and it doesn't leave residue. So it's perfect for a delicate wiring harness like here on the Lotus. So other than the housekeeping that we need to do here, for instance, we have the MAF plug. It looks pretty good to the eye. It's always hard to tell. That boot back here looks a little suspect. Might need to shove that wire in a little bit more. And then you also never know inside the sensor either. So before we get to spraying, we do want to unplug our battery and make sure that we're in a well-ventilated area and throw on some safety glasses. And my skin's having a hard enough time. I'll give you guys a health update as soon as we get to a point where we've done something today. I'll give you guys a health update on all that stuff, but I'm going to be throwing on gloves too, which is probably a good idea anytime you're using different solvents and stuff. So, hey guys, Chris Fix here. Just kidding. All right, now that we're Protecticazoid, here's the game plan. One sensor at a time. MAF sensor first. Clean, clean. Clean, clean. I do have extra cans. I am well aware the thumbnail says 1 can. I'm gonna use like as many cans as I need. Now these don't look oxidized, so I'm not gonna be doing any brushing, but if any of them do look oxidized, I'm gonna be following up with physical cleaning and brushing as well. At the risk of this sounding like one giant ad, which it is a sponsored episode, but it ain't like that. I gotta show you guys the next few steps. So I could clean every connection, film a huge montage of it, but then I'd have to unplug them to do the protection. It's clean and protect. They sent me a giant box of all this stuff. I wanted to do this. I wanted to see if this would work. This is important consumer information. So protecting is the next step. WD-40 Specialist Dry Lube. This is gonna keep out dirt and dust very well. Provides lubrication as well as corrosion protection. So that's, you know, the kind of the next step to worry about. We can clean off the corrosion and the oxidization, but we don't want it to come back in here. And this is really how we're gonna get that longevity. So after I clean it, I'm gonna be protecting it, and then WD-40 Specialist Silicone, I'm gonna protect it even further. So this stuff is really good for like the plastics, the rubber, you know, rubber grommets, rubber boots that you got. In every single wiring harness, the back, usually the wires have their individual pin plugs. You don't want those getting contaminated and you don't want those breaking, so those are made out of rubber as well. So this lubricates, it waterproofs, it dries quickly, it protects, and it won't attract dirt. And that's how we're gonna clean and protect this entire wiring harness and the ECU inside and see what we can get to come back. So I'm gonna throw on the time lapse and start blasting away at every single plug I can. And I don't know, if the editor's feeling fun, I'll have him put all of the different sensors that I clean. By the way, I am the editor still. Okay, it's hot out here. We got all the top side connections done. Now I've opened this access panel down here. It's gonna let me get all the bottom side connections. So far, everything's looking in pretty good shape. So at this point, we're hoping we find trouble elsewhere to solve the problem, I think. I don't know. And while I get to plugging, Kyle's gonna get to work on the front end. This car's got a lot of sun damage on it, enough to totally roast the Lotus badge and kill the, I guess, not UV protected enough clear coat on the headlights, which we'll be jumping into in a second. But also, it looks like maybe a power washing incident. I'm not really sure what got that paint to eject itself from there, but we're just gonna do some touch-up paint because it's gonna be a lot better than, well, the primer underneath it. Okay, with all the connectors cleaned up and sealed and siliconed and everything, we're all good. Now there is a ground right here, and grounds can cause like a dirty ground can cause so many different problems on an ECU. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen this up and then very well clean everything around it and put it back down. Make sure it just has really, really good connection to this head here. It looks nice and clean, that's a good sign. But we can clean it up even better. All right, got that wire brushed and super cleaned up and back on. Now it's time to move into the ECU land. After pulling back the interior, I'm learning a few things. Yes, there's definitely corrosion in here, but no, it's not likely that it was my fault. It is dry as a bone in here, so I don't really know how this happened, but we did just wash this car, which meant a lot of water around it, and everything is dry through here. There's nothing that would tell us otherwise. So all we can do is clean and hope. But you can see, I mean, that is definite. Usually that looks like salt when salt dries on relays. So stuff that we can improve on. There's corrosion right here on the ECU side of the plugs. So we'll go ahead and keep cleaning the same way. Contact cleaner first, then move into the dry lube, and then silicone on the outside of it all. Just get it all nice and cleaned up the best we can. So I went through here, I checked all the relays, they all looked pretty good. A little bit of surface corrosion, but nothing too bad. All their connections look fine, all the fuses, all the connections look fine, except for once I got into these 30 amp fuses. These bad boys go right here, and they were corroded badly. So I grabbed some sandpaper and sanded the flats up on these really nice and clean. I'm gonna go ahead, and I have like a round, almost like a pipe cleaner that's got some metallic to it, and I'll get in there and clean both of those up and plug those in. ECU plugs all look super clean. ECUs look super clean. So I'm really thinking that these could have been causing intermittent shorts, and that could cause a lot of issues because they definitely send power to a lot of systems at once. But I'll get them all cleaned up and we'll just see what happens. Well, I don't know where the bottom part of my back seat is or my headrests, but the rest of this is all buttoned up and all put back together and cleaned up. So I'm excited to try it out, but before that, I do realize it's pretty weird to lose your back seat, but a lot of cars, lots of back seats to keep track of. I prefer the cars that don't even have back seats. It's way easier. I'm gonna jump in and help Kyle with these headlights. The clear coat that was previously on there is like super on there, so we actually had to get a razor blade and start kind of cutting the clear coat off rather than sanding through it because it was just taking absolutely forever and it's going to sand too much into the plastic. So I do think that this is kind of the way to do it. We'll just cut it off, and then any little bits that are left will sand up nicely. So this is halfway through the sanding process. I'm going to finish the sanding process and start the protection process on it. So we got one headlight sanded up, and the other one I'm still working on razor blading the clear coat off of. It's getting really sticky, so I wanted to buy a tool. I bought a scraper tool, and that's gonna help. We definitely wanted to put a pause on this yesterday because we noticed something. The company that sold us the headlight restoration kit, 3M, did not include anything in their kit that actually protects the plastic from UV rays. So when you're doing one of these, you need something, either a clear coat that has UV protectant in it, or I've seen a ceramic coat do it as well. You need one of those two things that's gonna protect the plastic in your headlight from degrading with the sunlight, or else then you're gonna be worse off than before. Because yeah, you had a yellowed clear coat, but it was still at least protecting the plastics. As you can see, my plastics are not yellowed. They're perfectly fine. You need something to protect that plastic from UV rays. So don't use a kit that doesn't include anything. So I went and just bought another kit that has a ceramic coating, and we're gonna be going that route. I haven't really tested one in several years. Last time I tested one, it wasn't very good, but I'm down to try it again. So before I get back to headlight stuff, I do want to give you guys a health update. The new medicine is working with me pretty good. So this is called Mektovi. It's a protein inhibitor, and the hopes are that it finds the way to the tumors and the tumor cells, and it blocks the proteins from them, which helps shrink them and stop the cancer from spreading through my body and growing new tumors, which was what was happening in the last segment of my life. And so we're really hoping it's working. There's really no way to know quite yet. I've had so many PET scans that I can't just take the pills, you know, for 2 weeks and then have another PET scan. All out on PET scan options. PET scans just have a ton of radiation in them, so you just can't keep throwing them out there like candy. I had a blood work meeting with my doctor, and then we just really talked about side effects, and right after 2 weeks is when the first of the side effects started kicking in. It also was in the time that I had to finally taper all the way off of steroids, so I'm no longer superhuman. That was fun, but I'm back to normal now. And the biggest issue, and I don't really have any visible signs of it, you can kind of see some there on that hand there and maybe a little bit on this hand here, is sun sensitivity that then leads to rashes. So if it was just sun sensitivity that led to a sunburn, that would be a lot easier to manage. But this is sun sensitivity that leads to, if I get burned, it's like a rash and it itches like crazy and it's super uncomfortable. And so it first started, I caught a lot of it on the back of my neck, and then I got it on the tops of both hands because I started doing UV protectant clothing, but that doesn't cover your hands. Now I'm just trying to work with a lot more sunscreen, more powerful sunscreens, and I'm really just testing that out because relying on the clothing is good, and UV protective clothing is the best option. But you know, it'll miss areas, and then my skin's so sensitive to the sun right now, if I have unprotected areas, it seems to just be a mess. So right now I'm just really trying to see what I can do with just sunscreen. The cool part of it is that skin that doesn't seem to be red or damaged in the beginning is a lot more resilient and not as open to getting that burn and rash. It's just skin that's like in the process of healing, if that makes any sense, is the stuff that's higher at risk. So that's one side effect of the medicine. That's something I can 100% live with. And for me, the other one it's really small is that if I don't eat a good amount of food when I'm taking my medicine, the medicine will make me pretty nauseous. I love eating. I mean, I've been eating a little too much recently, getting a little puffy. I think Outdoor Voice said it best, getting fluffy. Because when I was on the steroids, I could eat like all day long and I wouldn't gain a pound. And it was a little hard to get off of that mode. But anywho, I'm doing good. And that is the update that I have for now. Hopefully, it's kind of weird right now in my cancer journey. Like, I don't know when I'm gonna know what's going on. That's the first time I just don't know when I'm gonna know. But, you know, we just stay positive, keep our head up, and have fun. And that's what we're out here doing. So, before I jump back into the headlight, I wanna talk about fuel. This vehicle is pretty low on fuel, and the last time that we tried to start this thing, we did get a crank, but then we just got like a pop and a sound, a really weird sound, and we shut it off, and then next time crank, and we didn't get it to go. So I have a feeling that it could be fuel related. Usually you'd want to drain your fuel tank. That seems like a really big, really hard issue to solve. So I'm going to try again the easier issue, which is add a ton of good premium fuel with a little fuel treatment as well. I'm gonna add both of those things and then let them settle in there and set in that fuel tank for a little bit while I'm working on the headlight, with the hopes that next time we crank this thing, also we'll prime the fuel pump a couple times, see if it has a recirculating fuel system, get some of that good fuel running through there. Usually when I've had old fuel in a vehicle, if you have 90% new fuel and 10% old fuel, things start to work out. So that's my hope. That's my hope. Some random all-in-one fuel treatment stuff. Stabilizes fuel for winterization. Been through a few winters. Oh, down the hatch. I missed a little bit, but that adds character. Restoring a set of headlights after a poor restoration is much harder than restoring a set of headlights the first time around. So make sure that whatever clear coat that you're using is a really good quality UV blocking clear coat. You're gonna be in the same position I am, where you're either deep sanding or razor blade cutting off the clear coat. I would recommend automotive clear coat, the same stuff you'd put over your base layer of paint. That stuff is the best that I know of. Once I was able to cut all the remaining clear coat off, it's a 3-stage sanding. I'd recommend a 4-stage sanding. This kit came with 3-stage. First is 500, next is 800, and then it bumps all the way up to 3000. I would run a 1000 or a 1500 in the middle of that. And then after the 3000, it's on to polish, which you can see starts to get all over the windshield and the rest of the car. That's just the downside of polishing really aggressively. Stuff's gonna get flung everywhere. And you just clean it back up, but clean it quickly. Don't, a hot day, do not let it dry on there or it's a real pain to clean off. So after the polish, you're gonna start to see the headlight turn clear-ish, but it's not as clear as it's gonna get. You need some final steps. So you could do a waxing compound, which I would not recommend because it's not going to be UV protected enough, or what I'm doing here is the Cerakote compound on the final step. And it was pretty cool. My mom came out and helped watch me work. God dang, what a good looking car. I just drove up this morning. Yeah, it's a new day. Those headlights took it out of me. It's the next day. Drove up this morning and my God, such a good looking car. Alrighty, so here's what happened. Headlights, refreshed. Lenses, looking good. Looking as good as new. We've got polishing debris all over the front of this car. It needs to be cleaned up. The big thing though was the masking tape that we used. I'm out at my parents' house. It might have been quite a few years old. That's blue paint tape. It might have been really old. And it left behind residue like everywhere. You can see all this white in here is either polishing gunk or masking tape residue. But I've got a bunch, like, you can probably see that even better. It's all got to be cleaned up. And I'm going to try and clean up as much of the polishing residue and maybe just wash down the front of the car one more time. And then we are ready to give it a start. All right, we're looking all cleaned up. I have no idea how that ceramic coating is gonna go on the headlights. I'll give you guys an update, probably drop it, any information down in the description. If I have some sort of update like, wow, in 3 weeks this went bad or whatever, I'll just let you know in the description whether or not we're talking clear coat or ceramic coat. I will say ceramic coat is a lot easier. Now, put in a fresh battery. We've got that good fuel in there. I really should clear that check engine light. I'm pretty sure that was from the misfiring, non-starting before. Let me see if I can find a code scanner around here. Okay, we got lots of codes, and yes, I'm wearing shorts on BS Rebuild for the first time in 8 years. Give me a break. Evap, that's old. That was electrical gremlins. Cylinder 1 misfire, cylinder 3. Manufacturer control, evap. Throttle actuator control, system forced idle, throttle actuator control, evap. Okay, so all of that could be related to a really, really bad misfire. Let's go ahead and clear the codes and see what she wants to do here. Okay, it's running a little rough, really rough. I'm gonna give it, oh, and it died. Well, those codes are probably gonna come back. I'm really hoping that is due to bad gas. So last time we had like bad gas, bad battery mixture here. I'm gonna go ahead and give it some throttle when it's running well and see if we could burn through that bad gas and hopefully get into the fresh premium. That's a lot of misfiring. Come on, car. That's misfiring, misfiring, misfiring. Stop it. Jesus, don't redline it. I'm having trouble keeping it in a decent rev range. Just stay there, stay there. All right, I'm gonna hold it here for a little bit, get it warmed up, and geez, cross my fingers. Hey, the check engine light didn't come back on. I guess it didn't catch what just happened. I don't know if you did either. That was a little dark. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna try and hold it right here. You know, Camry engines, if anything, has told us they're very robust, and although that I just did was not something that you would want to do, there's no load on the engine, should be fine. I don't know when the computer was last reset, but it says that my fuel consumption is 10.3 miles per gallon, which for a V6 is impressively bad. It also is reading 11,000 miles on the clock, so it's very low miles. I forgot about that. And it is reading tire pressure in each tire, but it's like 8 to 14 pounds. That's not enough. So I gotta see if I can find a tire pressure gauge before we go for a spin here. I mean, it was sitting for a long time. I guess it could go really low. I'm gonna let my foot off here, and it is happy to idle. So let's just let it idle, heat cycle, and run through some of that bad gas. If it has a return fuel system, that bad gas will be gone the second it's out of the injectors. If it has a dead-ended fuel system where they modulate voltage to maintain fuel pressure, it could take quite a while to get that crap stuff out of the line, like quite a while. Because you're talking about a half a gallon of fuel at idling. Maybe not a half a gallon, but a lot. Anyways, tire pressure gauge. By the way, these tires, Triangle brand, bought them before the Nitto sponsorship. They are terrible. They got flat spots almost instantly. I mean, I doubt they're still in business, but 10 out of 10, don't recommend. Well, the tire pressure indicators were right, and they were all at 10 pounds. And these tires say up to 50, so I just threw them all up to 50. So if they weren't flat spotted before, they all are now, guaranteed. Can't wait to give it a drive. But before that, I'm gonna find a little spot in the shade to talk about our sponsor. So when we're out working on cars, and especially cars that have been around for a while, we end up fighting kind of like two battles. There's the things that don't work right, and then there's the things that won't stay working right, like my Evora. And that's where the WD-40 Specialist line really earns its spot in my shop. These aren't just like quick sprays to get you out of a jam. These are professional grade formulas that are developed for guys like us that work on cars, trucks, and equipment every day. They're made to solve problems the right way and keep things reliable long after the project is done. And I just love knowing like whether I need to get a wheel speed sensor sorted, I got some corrosion on it, or like what we did today with protecting a wiring harness with silicone. I know the full lineup has my back, and that's why I keep it in the garage. So if you want to check them out for your own projects, I put all the links down in the description. Go check them out, pick up what you need to keep your builds running strong. And on a personal note, you guys know I've been going through a hell of a health journey. I've been having to apologize to a lot of different brands and companies because you know, the whole company changed and a lot of things changed with me and my scheduling and everything else like that. And I got mixed reviews from some companies upset that, and some companies really cool. And just a personal note from myself to the WD-40 brand and the agencies that work with them, they've been the coolest. It makes me real happy. These yellow and blue colors are something I grew up seeing in my dad's tool chest. They've never gone away, and just with my personal relationship with the brand, they're never gonna go away in my lifetime, because they're a really cool company and they treat people really, really good. And that makes me happy. Makes me very happy to be working with them. All right, let's go see if we can test drive this car without going into limp mode. Away we go. Trying to do this the best I can. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. That is 60 miles an hour. Flat spots galore. Car is shaking. I was gonna make an inappropriate joke there. I'm gonna pause those. I used to remember where a quarter mile was. I think it's from here to that mailbox. Rolling start, quarter mile. That feels good. Yeah, it's that mailbox right there. One thing I didn't really realize before is how radically close the gas pedal is to the brake pedal on this car. I mean, it is, you can easily mistakenly hit both. Very easily. I found the button for sport mode and manual mode. This road is called Kaufman Road, and I went to school with a bunch of the Kaufmans. That's how small of a town I grew up in. So people are named after the streets. We're gonna have to put a BS for Build Road in here someday. Woo! Third gear is long in this car, longer than I remember. Back in the old manual mode, let's have some fun. Too fast. I'm just not used to the gearing in this thing. I drove by the camera and I was slowing down. That third gear gets to 100 like really fast. Oh no. This is the rearview mirror. I went to adjust it and it just uninstalled itself. I told you it was hot. Anyways, camera's on the ground right there. Let's go for it here. I just want to give you guys some of the audible goodness here. And then yeah, you almost get hit by a Kubota because we out here. All right, we have successfully fixed the limp mode. Now the question, does this car go back into storage? Or does it go up on the auction block? Be a hard one to let go of, my first supercar build. Alright guys, made it back home. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and as always, thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!